Hello, it's Saturday the 22nd of October. You're tuned in to our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start this evening with some track 2 diplomacy taking place between the United States and North Korea. A group of North Korean diplomats and former US officials are holding talks in Malaysia for a second straight day. It's thought the two sides are feeling each other out following the North's recent string of nuclear and missile provocations. Iji-won has our top story.
North Korean authorities and former U.S. officials and experts are holding their second day of talks in Malaysia. Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency reports the two sides spent several hours holding discussions at a hotel in Kuala Lumpur on Friday and continue their talks from Saturday morning. North Korea is represented by Han Sung-yeol, Director General of the U.S. Affairs Department at the North's Foreign Ministry, and Pyongyang's Deputy Ambassador to the UN, Jang Il-un. On the U.S. side, the representatives are Robert Galuzzi, a former State Department Special Envoy on the North Korean nuclear issue, and Joseph Titrani, former Special Envoy for the six-party talks, as well as two researchers with expertise on North Korea. As the meeting is classed as informal and is taking place behind closed doors, no details are known. But Chang told Yonhap News that they are not negotiations, as the American attendees are not representing the U.S. government in an official capacity. Responding to a question on what was being discussed, Chang said they've been sharing thoughts on a number of pending issues. Pundits say North Korea may be attempting to gauge the general U.S. reaction to the regime's recent nuclear and missile tests. They add that the American representatives could be trying to get a read on the North's future intentions. 이지원, Arirang News.
Now, a third of UN member states have now reportedly handed over their implementation reports on the latest set of UN sanctions adopted against North Korea for its recent nuclear and missile provocations. Voice of America reports that 66 nations have submitted their reports since the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 2270 in March. The US-based broadcaster cited the Spanish mission to the UN, which currently chairs the global body's panel on North Korea sanctions. It says the number of reports received is the second highest after Resolution 1718, adopted shortly after the North's first nuclear test in 2006. Out of the latest reports, Angola, Burundi, Costa Rica, Iraq and Senegal submitted reports for the first time. A Korean researcher has unearthed even more Japanese historical documents proving Korea's easternmost Dokdo Island was considered Korean territory by Japan more than a century ago, further pouring cold water over Tokyo's erroneous claims to the East Sea islets. Revealing his findings at a press conference in Seoul on Saturday, Dongguk University professor Han Chol-ho said the maps produced by the Japanese government in 1888 and 1892 clearly marked Dokdo as Korean territory. Now, the first map shaded Dokdo and nearby Ulleungdo Island in a different colour from Japan's mainland. It also didn't mark the mountains on the islands as it did for mountains in Japan. The professor said it shows the Japanese government at the time did not see the islands as part of Japan. The map from 1892, which was published in Japanese in government-verified textbooks from the early 1900s, excludes Dokdo from Japan's national border. Despite the weight of evidence to the contrary, Japan continues to this day to make false territorial claims to Dokdo. Two comfort women statues have been unveiled in Shanghai, the first monument in China to pay tribute to the female victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery. The statues, one of a Korean girl and one of a Chinese girl, have been set up inside Shanghai Normal University with the help of private donations from the residents of Hwasong, a city south of Seoul. It's the fifth monument to be built outside of Korea in honor of the women and girls forced into sexual slavery for Japanese soldiers before and during World War II. The other statues are located in the United States, Canada, and Australia. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has confirmed he will return to South Korea in January after finishing his second five-year term as head of the global body. In an exclusive interview with Reuters, Ban said he was conscious that many people in Korea expect him to make a run for the presidency late next year. Ban said that once he's back, he will talk with his friends and advisors about what kind of role he can play for the future of Korea. For now, though, Ban said he's focused on his remaining 2.5 months as UN Secretary-General and wouldn't be drawn further on the issue. Reuters says Ban is the only potential candidate for the December 2017 election with consistently more than 20% support in opinion polls. If he runs, there are expectations he would run as a candidate of the ruling Conservative Saenuri Party. It's day 26 of a rail strike here in Korea, the longest in the nation's history. Train services are running at roughly 85% of regular levels, and this is causing slight inconvenience to passengers looking for a short weekend break. Freight services are feeling the brunt of the walkout, however, with the operation rate well below 60%. The only real good news for passengers is that KTX bullet trains are running as normal. As of early Saturday morning, more than 7,000 rail workers had joined the industrial action, with fewer than 450 returning to work over the past 3.5 weeks. The strike began on September 27th in protests against the adoption of a performance-based wage system. The nation's rail operator KORAIL estimates losses from the strike to reach some $30 million. In the race for the White House, the latest Reuters Ipsos poll shows Donald Trump is closing the gap on Hillary Clinton with a little over 2 weeks before Americans head to the polls for the November 8th election. The poll released on Friday shows Trump has cut Clinton's lead in half this week, with the data showing his argument that the election is rigged against him has resonated with Republican voters. In the latest poll, Clinton led Trump 44% to 40%, a 4-point lead. That compares with 44% to 37% for Trump in the previous poll released last week. An average of polls compiled by Real Clear Politics shows Clinton 6 points ahead at 48% support to Trump's 42%. Now, Trump is slated to give a major speech Saturday in Pennsylvania. He's expected to lay out the immediate steps he will take in the first 100 days of his administration if he's elected president. Now, ultraviolet rays cause dark spots and freckles to form on our skin, causing it to age more quickly. But researchers have found that red ginseng has the ability to protect the skin against sun damage. Park Se-young reports.
Protection against ultraviolet rays is important all year round. First come wrinkles and then thickened dead cells, which in the worst case can develop into skin cancer. Thankfully, new discoveries by Korean scientists show that red ginseng can protect the skin from UV rays. In their experiments with hairless mice, the scientists either gave the mice an injection of red ginseng extract or applied the extract directly. The mice were then exposed to UV rays 3 times a week for 22 weeks. The ones treated with red ginseng suffered less skin damage and exhibited fewer signs of aging than the control group, and their skin was about 35% thinner. The incidence of skin tumors was also cut by half.
The red ginseng injections were more effective, but the application worked too, so doing both would be best.
The study also showed that the saponin found in red ginseng can help prevent and alleviate skin pigmentation after UV exposure. A signaling agent is secreted when the skin is exposed to UV rays, causing inflammation and ultimately discoloration. The scientists found that applying saponin to the skin reduced the expression of the agent by nearly 70%. The findings are expected to lead the way to the development of new products for protecting the skin and medications for preventing skin cancer. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
A museum dedicated to promoting the history and beauty of Hangul is receiving a special exhibition showcasing the lives of 2 people who forever changed the look of the Korean alphabet in the modern era. Kim Mok-yeon has the details.
King Sejong the Great invented the Korean alphabet in the 15th century, but 2 key typeface designers from the modern era shaped it into what it looks like today. Pioneering designers Choi Jong-ho and Choi Jong-sun created a blueprint for the Hangul typeface that is still in use in the present day, and their creations have made the alphabet more functional and artistically valuable. They designed fonts like Batangche, which are now essential in the lives of Koreans.
The designers worked out of a sense of duty, as creating fonts did little to alleviate the hardships they would have faced at the time.
This year, Korea is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the birth of the two designers. To mark the occasion, the National Hangeul Museum is holding an exhibition of their artifacts and achievements. Nearly 200 items, including blueprints, newspapers, and books, will be on display through November 17th.
The exhibition is interesting because it shows the various fonts that were created after King Sejong, and the best-looking ones were selected to improve the alphabet.
Through events like this one, the museum plans to raise awareness of the beauty and value of the Hangul alphabet among the general public for the rest of the year. Kim Mo-gyan, Arirang News.
Now, before we go, we're going to take a brief look at the weekend weather. And most of the country is under cloudy skies this evening. It's going to be a fairly mild night for the time of year, at least. The low is only going to dip to 16 degrees Celsius in the capital. Sunday will be cooler. Sunday will be cooler than today, with the high topping out at just 17 degrees Celsius in Seoul, but most places should see at least a little bit of sun. With that, let's take a look at the weather map for Korea and the rest of the world. Well, that's all we have for now. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday wherever you're watching us, and stay tuned to Arirang TV. Plenty more coming up this evening. We'll be back again with our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.